Tonight on CFTK-TV News, a fatal incident leaves a carnival worker dead, an update on measles in the Northwest, and a local barber decides to give back.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, August 27th, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. We'll begin tonight with our news that's local to the Northwest. The City of Prince Rupert has confirmed that an incident resulting in a fatality occurred last night at a local carnival. RCMP say on Tuesday, August 26, 2025 at 10:40 p.m., Prince Rupert RCMP responded to a report of an injured man at the Prince Rupert Summer Carnival. A man was located unconscious near one of the rides. Despite efforts of EHS, the man was later pronounced deceased. The RCMP are assisting in the investigation along with WorkSafe BC and the BC Coroner's Service. A drumming group and smudge was held at 1 p.m. today at the Civic Centre to honor the victim. A warrior dance was also presented for him. This video is from a live stream of the ceremony streamed by Celeste Sampson. The city stated also provided victim services for counselors, support staff at the Civic Centre. A helpline can also be reached by calling 250-627-7779. Shooting Star Amusements, based out of Mission, BC, was operating the touring carnival. They announced today that after a tragic incident involving a great man and co-worker, the carnival will not open Wednesday or Thursday in Prince Rupert. Any ticket sales will be refunded. Communities across northern BC are on alert as health officials continue to track a growing measles outbreak. The first update came back in February with more than 80 cases confirmed across the province, and more recently, a measles exposure was reported in Smithers. Tonight, we look at what this means for families here in the Northwest and why health experts are reminding people that immunization is key. CFTK-TV's Helen Asante has more.
We have about 150 confirmed cases. And so that would include cases where we have a lab test for, or it would include cases where they have been connected to another known case. And so that's the approximate number. It shifts almost every day as we continue to do more assessments. For us in the north, most of our cases, the vast majority of our cases have been in and around the Fort St. John area, so within the northeast region of the north. We have seen a small number of cases in Smithers, and recently we've had a case and a couple of investigations that are still ongoing in Prince George. And so we've seen, again, most of the cases in and around Fort St. John, and then a smaller number around other regions.
Northern Health Dr. Tribesti, highlighting the importance of vigilance, he adds that vaccination remains the best defense.
So the vaccine is the best way to prevent measles. The way that it's given is it's given in 2 doses. So after the first dose, the protection is pretty good. It's around 85 to 95% effective. After your second dose, it's nearly 100% effective. And it's a lifelong protection as well. You're protected from measles for the rest of your life. So it's extremely effective, and it is the single best way to prevent yourself from getting sick with measles, as well as to prevent it from getting to your family. Because if you protect yourself with the vaccine, you won't be spreading it to your family, to your friends, and to the community around you.
For those unsure of their vaccination status, Northern Health is urging residents to check their records, especially parents of young children.
So to check your immunization records, one way is to use what's called My Health Gateway. It's a provincial, app, for example, that you can download onto your phone, or you can log into the website, and it should include all of your immunization records on there. Sometimes though, the immunization record may be missed, and so the other way to check is to call the local health unit, and there is one in Terrace. And so the health unit is probably the first place to contact to help you figure that out. It's also the place that you can call to get your vaccine.
Anyone showing symptoms should contact their healthcare provider and avoid public space. Helen Asante, CFTK-TV News, Terrace.
Amidst the heat wave, the district of Kitimat is the first of the Northwest Inland to open cooling centers. Now on our third day of temperatures hitting above 30 degrees, the district of Kitimat has recognized that the high temperatures forecasted and open a cooling center in the Tamatik Arena. Open from 8:30 a.m. to 10 p.m., the arena will be attended by Kitimat staff, and a cooled space with refreshments, Wi-Fi seating, and washrooms are provided. The district also provided the Kitimat Visitor Information Center, the River Lodge Rec Center, the Kitimat Public Library, and the Kitimat Museum as alternate options. Neither the City of Terrace or Town of Smithers responded to our query on whether they were assisting the vulnerable populations with cooling centers, but the City of Terrace recommended online that anyone hot head to the library or splash park. A local barbershop owner has created a new offer to try and give residents a reprieve from the ever-rising cost of living. CFTK-TV's Kale Maslin explains further.
Yesterday morning, the owner of the Nuck Barbershop in Terrace announced that he would be making a new special offer starting that day, and it's exclusive to Tuesdays.
Tuesdays are going to be, there will be like kind of a range of like just whatever, like anything about $15–20, and then that way, you know, there's that base, and then, but even if someone is really hard up, and you know what I mean, I would be like whatever you want to do.
Brendan Larkin then gave his main reasoning as to why he is putting forth this effort to assist his customers with this money-saving offer.
I think because of just the way economy crisis is for everyone, I think that there's so much inflation and it keeps climbing. I'm a big lover, feeler that way, and I can't help it, and I see a lot of other people raising prices where I want to kind of just do my own thing and be different, and I want to try to be humble with people and humble myself and with the community and give back, right?
While Larkin's main intention has been to try and ease the pressure on the wallets of local residents, he has also pondered giving back to the community in other ways, like through charitable donations.
Once everything gets, I think I would do that actually, like for NARA or definitely NARA, and or Kitimat Humane Society is a good one, or SAR, like Search and Rescue, is another big one that I would fundamentally go for.
Larkin last said that he hopes this offer can help people put themselves in the shoes of others and remind them to give back whatever they can. For CFTK TV News, I'm Kale Maslin.
Coming up next, a compassionate look at harm reduction. Police say a motorhome that veered off Highway 97 crashed into a tree and burst into flames, sparked a wildfire that forced the tactical evacuation of nearly 60 homes in Peachland overnight. It was a brief evacuation, with residents allowed to return home within a few hours. RCMP say the swift actions of firefighters from Peachland, West Kelowna, and the BC Wildfire Service prevented the fire from spreading further. Police say the driver of the motorhome escaped without serious injuries, while the BC Wildfire Service says the blaze is classified as being held, meaning it's not expected to grow beyond its current perimeter. And in the midst of the overdose crisis, the conventions around harm reduction and safe supply are real. In her series on understanding the dilemma, Penny Daflos speaks with a prominent advocate.
Childhood is a golden time for many of us, but for some it can lay the groundwork for a difficult life in their brains.
The more stress, trauma, instability there's in the environment, the less these circuits develop properly. The more traumatic experiences people have in childhood, by far the greater the risk of addiction.
Best-selling author Dr. Gabor Mate continues to transfix millions of viewers.
The real question in addiction is not why the addiction, but why the pain.
Across various mediums,
the #1 health podcast in the world,
with his profound insights.
Trauma is a wound. It's a psychic wound that leaves a scar, it leaves an imprint.
After practicing family medicine in Vancouver, going on to provide addiction treatment in the downtown east side while working at St. Paul's Hospital, CTV News reached the world-renowned expert on the Gulf Islands.
Both the science and the empathy is missing from the public discourse.
There's been no shortage of rallies and backlash against BC policies like safer supply and supervised consumption sites.
This is about the street disorder and the disorder that surrounds the overdose prevention site.
We should be helping them get off the drugs and not just having a location for them to use the drug.
The most prevalent myth around addiction is that people are choosing to behave the way they are.
He points to multiple studies and research finding poverty and lack of emotional care can impact children and our society.
The more inequality there is in a country, the more addiction there is, the more illness there is, and the more hostility there is.
Matei wants to see education for doctors, police, teachers, and the public about risk factors and how harm reduction measures aren't a solution, but a way to reduce the spread of disease and preventable deaths and connect with those who are suffering.
People are desperate to soothe their pain, so desperate that they even take the risk of taking lethal medications. But what is that if not despair?
When viewed through Matei's compassionate lens, British Columbia records on average 5 deaths of despair every day. Penny Daflos, CTV News, Vancouver.
And next, let's take a look at your Northwest weather report. Tonight on the North Coast, expect conditions to be clear, becoming partly cloudy overnight, fog patches developing after midnight, a low of 11 degrees. Over the next few days on the North Coast, expect some clouds to come in and overcast conditions for the weekend. Daily highs between 17 and 20 degrees, overnight lows between 11 and 12 degrees. Tonight in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect it to be clear with a low of 14 degrees. Over the next few days in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect it to stay hot until Friday, then temperatures will drop down to the early 20s for the weekend, overnight lows between 12 and 14 degrees. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it's looking clear with a low of 6 degrees. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, expect high temperatures to stay till the weekend, then some clouds coming in and temperatures cooling off a little. Daily highs from 31 dropping down to 23 degrees, overnight lows 8 to 11 degrees. Taking a look at your highways around the Northwest now. On Highway 16, there's construction in Prince Rupert with a detour in effect. There's bridge maintenance, road maintenance, utility work, shoulder maintenance, and paving operations underway as well. On Highway 37, watch for bridge construction and construction work. On Highway 37A, paving operations as well as a section with falling rocks. On the Niska Highway, there's road construction and crack sealing going on. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, this year's rental cap increase. Tragedy in Minneapolis this morning after a gunman opened fire at a Catholic school. NBC's Chris Pallone has more.
Another mass shooting in America, this time in Minneapolis.
Just before 8:30 a.m., our city experienced an unthinkable tragedy.
It happened at Annunciation Church as children from the adjoining Catholic school celebrated the start of a new year with a mass. Neighbors described hearing the unmistakable sound of gunfire.
It was sporadic, so it was a semi-automatic. It seemed like a rifle. It certainly didn't sound like a handgun.
Police say a gunman, early 20s, dressed in black, barricaded the church doors and opened fire.
Shooting through the windows, he struck children and worshipers that were inside the building.
It was really scary.
10-year-old Weston Halsney says shots came through the window next to him.
Again, I just ran under the pew, and then I covered my head. My friend saved me though, because he laid on top of me, but he got hit.
Several law enforcement sources have identified the shooter to NBC News as Robin Westman. Police say Westman was armed with a rifle, shotgun, and pistol. They say the suspect died by suicide at the scene. Sources say Westman had posted videos online that referenced suicide, extremely violent thoughts, an apology to their family, and contained a sketch of a church interior.
The sheer cruelty and cowardice of firing into a church full of children is absolutely incomprehensible.
And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church.
Investigators say the motive for the attack is still unclear. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
Landlords have been limited once again on how much they can increase rent this year as the province tries to combat the housing and affordability crisis. CTV's Rob Buffum has more.
Maria Kuzmenko and her mom live in a Victoria apartment. They're relieved to learn next year's rent increase is capped at a max of 2.3%.
Because when we moved in here, like previous landlords, they were paying like way less because they started renting way earlier, right?
The province announced Tuesday its annual cap will again be tied to inflation for 2026. It's lower than the 3% increase landlords were allowed to raise rent this year, or the 3.5% in 2024.
That affordability challenge that residents across BC are facing continues to be top of mind for us.
You see people now at 21, 24, 27 that still live with their parents, and it's hard for them.
For UVic students facing a new year, every penny counts.
Any drop is good because, year over year, even just a % difference adds up.
Landlords are less enthusiastic, although they're pleased increases aren't capped below inflation as they were in 2024 and 23 and aren't frozen at zero like they were during the pandemic. They say the province needs to help landlords given other escalating costs, including utilities, taxes, and strata fees.
We think that the government needs to take certain actions to help curb costs of housing providers, including things like reducing the property tax burden for rental housing providers.
Meanwhile, rental advocates say the whole system needs an overhaul, including steps to ensure rent doesn't spike between tenancies to incentivize evictions. They want to see landlords have to apply to increase rent.
We're putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound, and what we really need is significant rent control and changes to how we do affordability across the market.
The rent cap increase kicks in January 1st. Landlords need to give tenants 3 months' notice. Robert Buffum, CTV News.
Police in Prince George say they're dealing with a notable uptick in copper wire theft. Prince George RCMP say thieves have gone after power and communications cables, disrupting 911 service and causing other widespread effects. Police say repairs after copper wire is pilfered cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and Mounties hope the public will report any suspicious activity. They say people should call police if they witness someone in their neighborhood who is not clearly identifiable as a utilities worker near a lamppost or other copper-containing infrastructure. Next, let's take a look at the markets. The Canadian dollar rose under 1/10 of a cent. The price of gold rose by $15.60. Oil was up by 90 cents. Natural gas gained 6 cents. Aluminum was up $22.50. In Toronto, the TSX was up by 93 points. The Venture Index was up by almost 1 point. In New York, the Dow Jones was up 147 points, and the Nasdaq was up by almost 46 points. Still ahead, massive anti-war protests after a Gaza hospital was struck twice. The escalation of the war in Gaza continues as massive anti-war protests rose after Israel struck one of the last functioning hospitals in southern Gaza. CTV's Heather Wright reports.
On a highway outside of Tel Aviv, protesters burned tires, blocked traffic, and demanded an end to the war in Gaza.
Accept the deal that's on the table to end the bloodshed that's going on.
These protests are the largest anti-war demonstrations to take place in Israel since the Hamas-led attacks of October 7th, which triggered the war in Gaza. They come as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faces mounting pressure, both at home and abroad, over the deteriorating situation in the enclave. On Monday, Israel struck one of the only functioning hospitals in southern Gaza, then hit the facility a second time as journalists and rescue workers rushed to the scene. At least 20 people were killed, including 5 journalists. Israel says the strike was targeting a Hamas camera and will investigate what happened.
And I've worked in that hospital.
Nicole Lassard spent May, June, and July working in Gaza as a nurse with Médecins Sans Frontières. She says the suffering is constant. There's not enough food or medicine, and since Israel handed over aid distribution to the U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, getting aid can be deadly.
When the sites made an announcement they were going to open for food distribution, we would shortly receive mass casualties to the hospital. They keep the doors closed and then open them, people rush in. The food is dropped in the center, and it's basically like a fight to the death.
As Israel pushes ahead with its military offensive in Gaza City, there are not only fears in Gaza but in Israel as well, with approximately 20 living hostages still being held in the enclave.
The Prime Minister has really gone rogue now. He's going against his chief of staff. He's going against the hostage families. He's going entirely against the international community.
Today, the United Nations demanded that Israel's investigation into the killing of journalists at Nasser Hospital comes with accountability, noting that over 270 journalists have been killed in Gaza since the war began. Heather Wright, CTV News.
Now to a major step on sending people back to the moon or even Mars. The world's largest rocket successfully took off last night. Elon Musk and his company, SpaceX, passing crucial tests. ABC's Sophie Flay has the latest.
For once, the explosions were a reason to celebrate. After a string of fiery setbacks for SpaceX's flagship spacecraft, Starship finally pulling off a successful test flight. The world's most powerful rocket launching from Texas after 2 scrubbed attempts earlier this week. Starship making it safely to space, where it successfully launched fake satellites out of a side hatch. Then, a scary moment. Cameras capturing an explosion near the engine bay as the ship began its re-entry.
That's not what we want to see.
But Starship persevering. The spacecraft making a controlled landing burn before a fiery splashdown in the Indian Ocean. Pretty much everything going to plan. SpaceX saying it was using the test to push the vehicle to its extremes. It's a much-needed win for Elon Musk's company. The last 3 test flights ended prematurely. In June, a Starship exploding on the launch pad during an engine test. In March, an explosion rained debris down over the Caribbean. With billions of dollars at stake and a new space race against China brewing, a lot is riding on Starship.
Each launch is about learning more and more about what's needed to make life multiplanetary and to improve Starship to the point where it can be taking ultimately hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to Mars.
But Starship's first stop is a bit closer than that. NASA's acting administrator Sean Duffy writing overnight, Flight 10's success paves the way for the Starship human landing system that will bring American astronauts back to the moon. Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
That's our news for now. For more local news, you can visit us at CFTK-TV.com. We're also on YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, and X. We'll be back tomorrow with more local news. Thanks for watching.